Hello dear student, welcome on this video lecture. And in this video lecture we will be discussing about equations of motion. That means to describe motion, what are the equations that we require. And prior to that, let's recall or recap what the basic definitions we have gone through so far. So the important basic definitions that are going to be used in kinematics, one is a displacement, and so associated with is a distance. So displacement is going to be uh, featuring quantity that we need to understand and remember what it is. And then second is velocity, vector quantity, again it's a vector quantity. And the third is acceleration. So in kinematics basically we are using these three parameters broadly along with time. So any relation among these quantities, physical quantities, is called equations of motion. And in entire kinematics, what we are going to do, we are going to use the relation between or among these quantities. In these quantities, since we know the definition, so by using the definition, we are going to form the relation among them. So whatever the relations are going to be, that will be known as equations of motion. Moreover, along with this thing, one definition is a distance, another definition is a speed that we have covered, right? So in questions you will be given some quantity, some information, and other you might be asked. So we will be moving one by one ahead, and this is a broader idea of kinematics. So this is called basically description of motion. That means if we know all these quantities about a motion, that means we know at what time where the object is, that's a position, how much it has traveled, that's a distance, with which velocity it is moving, that's a velocity, what is the acceleration it is having, that's acceleration. So that this includes, or this makes the motion description complete. One point I would like to clarify, let's say a particle is moving in xy plane and the path is given to of that particle. So let's say the particle starts from here, origin, or maybe somewhere, and goes like this. So that's a path. So if this is a path, so we can say the velocity direction at any point on the path. So if we consider this point on the path, so velocity is always tangential to the path. This point I explained in the previous video. Here I am also explaining to differentiate it from x versus t diagram. So on the path, if you are getting a path, so in path if you draw a tangent at any location, so this tangent is going to give us the direction of velocity. It's not going to give us a velocity. As one student asked that here the tangent will be dy upon dx, and we cannot say dy upon dx is a velocity. No, that's not a velocity. He was right. So we are not going to say that the tangent's magnitude is going to be the velocity magnitude. Rather we can say at any point on the path, if we draw a tangent, that tangent will give us the direction of velocity at that instant. And which velocity it's going to be? It's going to be instantaneous velocity. Whereas for average velocity, what you do, you will start initial point at the final point and you join, and whatever that direction is coming, that becomes the direction of average. So there's a difference between direction of average velocity and instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity can be direction of instantaneous velocity can be identified just by drawing a tangent, because when you are moving on a path, then your direction of motion is along the path at that instant. So that's why this tangent will give the direction of velocity. So keep that point in mind. Now let's come towards these equations of motions. That means let's try to form the relation among these quantities that or definitions that we have learned. Most of the equations we have already established as per the definition. So they comes from the definition. Let's say start with the definition of velocity. If I need to write the definition of velocity, it is defined as the rate of change of displacement or position over the time. So this becomes one important equation of motion. So v is equal to dr by dt is one equation of motion. What this equation of motion is trying to say, it is trying to say that if the displacement is known to us, we can find velocity of the particle by differentiating it. So basically this is trying to relate v r and t together. Now if the displacement is given to us, we can find the velocity, and also if we can change it to another form like this, so we can rewrite it as this can also indicate that dr vector is going to be equal to v dt. So if we write in this fashion, that means we are interested in finding the displacement out of the velocity, and this becomes the differential equation. So next logical step is to integrate it. So if you integrate both sides, so that will become integration of dr vector is equal to integration of v dt. This will become another equation that is coming from the same equation. So basically we are writing the same equation in a different fashion, and both are giving the same thing. That means they can be converted from one to another. So here we are using the concept called integration to find displacement out of velocity. Here we are using differentiation to find velocity out of displacement. So that's called one equation. You can call it as equation 1, in which displacement, velocity and time are linked together. And you know the operation, this is going to be the displacement, and then velocity can be integrated depending upon how the velocity has been given to us. So that's one equation of motion. Let's come with the second definition. Second definition, that we had this acceleration, and this acceleration was defined as, or is defined as, rate of change of velocity. So that becomes the, you can say, another equation of motion. We can call it as the second equation of motion, that basically links velocity, time and acceleration together. That means if the velocity is known to us, we can differentiate it and we can find acceleration. When I say velocity, I mean instantaneous velocity, and when I say acceleration, I mean instantaneous acceleration. So we can get instantaneous relations between a, v and t like this. Just like we had earlier, we can also say that this is going to be imply one way or both ways rather. So that's when we apply this symbol that says it is both ways true. That means if this is true, then this is going to be true. If this is true, so this is going to be true. You know that. So this is going to be saying like a differential equation will be formed as a dv is equal to a dt. A for acceleration, dt for differential time. Now you know whenever this kind of equation is, then you can operate both side integration, so you can integrate it. Once you integrate, then that becomes integral equation, and after performing the integration, we can find velocity out of acceleration. So we can call this equation number 2. And these are the two equations that will be able to connect all the variables that I have shown over here, or all the definitions that we have talked about, right? So they are going to connect all the vector quantities, right? And moreover, let's talk about limits as well in this particular case, because otherwise you need to make this indefinite. Let's say in the second I'm trying to place the limit. So how the limits here will be placed? Something has to be placed here and something has to be placed there. So we will say if we start time t equal to 0, so we can say here time starts from 0, so it will be starting from 0 time, and it will go to any time t. So we will say we will start from the initial velocity and we will go to any velocity v. So this will become the limits. So that means here the limit has to be placed of the velocity, initial velocity to final velocity. Here the limit has to be placed of this dt. So t. So whatever comes with d, that limit has to be placed. So it starts from 0 to time t, and velocity starts from u to v. This u is called initial velocity, and v will be known as the velocity at any time t. So that becomes definite integration, and you do not require any constant, and it will give you a relation. That means it ultimately gives you velocity if you know initial velocity, acceleration and time. So that's how it is linking, right? So if you know these quantities, you can calculate this velocity at any instant of time of that particle or the body which is moving, or of which motion we are describing. In this equation we do not require the limits. The reason being it's a differentiation, it does not require the limit. What it may require, that you may be asked find the acceleration at a particular time, let's say t equal to t naught. So what you need to do, first differentiate, and whatever the expression is coming, just replace t by t naught, so you will get acceleration at that instant. Similarly, for this differential equation, however, for this differential equation you need to place the limit. So we will say that t is going to be running from 0 to any time t, so this is going to be limit on time, and here we need to place the limit on position. So if we are starting from origin, so we say we are starting from origin and we are going to any r position. So we can say it's going to be from origin to r position. And if we are starting from any other point, so we can say initial position to final position. So that's how the limits are going to be there. On the left hand side the limit will be of position, and on the right hand side limit will be of time. Generally we start time from 0, so from where we start observing, that's our initial time, and at any time later that becomes the variable time. Okay, so these two equations are capable to describe entire motion of any particle, no matter whether the particle is moving in one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional, or multi-dimensional, or any dimensional. So these two equations are justified and competent to solve all the questions. Now what we need to learn, how we can use these equations, and to learn those solving techniques, these integration and differentiation are going to be very handy, which we have already discussed. Moreover, this acceleration can also be related a bit differently. That means here acceleration is related with the velocity and time. We can also rewrite it in terms of position and velocity. So we will see shortly. So these are the broad. Now what we are going to talk about, we will be starting discussing the motion in different dimensions. We start from one dimension, then we'll go to the two-dimensional motion, then we are going to the three-dimensional motion. And in all you will be observing that these are going to the basic equation that we are going to use all through. One more point we can add over here, because we know differentiation is a slope and integration is area, so some point can be noted down that are also relevant. For instance, if we write over here, though we have already talked about some of the points, if you use this equation, so from here we can say if there is a position versus time graph, then the slope is going to give us the velocity. So we can say slope of tangent on position versus time graph gives velocity at that instant. So at what instant or at what time you are drawing the tangent and measuring the slope, that comes out to be velocity. One important, extremely important point, and it is a simple point. And another point from here we can say second, slope of velocity versus time graph will give us acceleration at any instant of time. So slope of tangent on velocity versus time graph gives us acceleration. So acceleration can be measured by measuring simply slope of velocity versus time graph. We will do practice of these kind of questions, but yes, these points are critical points, so you need to keep in mind and you need to learn like anything. Similarly, now come to the area. So here you can say this, if velocity versus time is given to us and you measure this is going to be area under the velocity versus time graph, and the quantity that you are going to get is a displacement. So we can say area under velocity versus time graph gives displacement of the particle. Displacement of the particle or the object. Since displacement is a vector quantity, so we consider upside area as a positive, downside area as a negative. Now if you look at this expression, so this expression can be said to be if we plot a graph between acceleration and time, then measure the area, then that area will become change in velocity, because left hand side integration will come v minus u, that's a change in velocity. So last point that can be remembered or need to keep in mind is this: area under acceleration versus time graph is going to give us change in velocity. Change in velocity, right? This change is an important word which generally student miss, so don't miss that. Now here we have considered the displacement because displacement is change in position. So we can say this is a change in position, and change in position is a displacement. So either you say this is displacement or you say change in position. Both are going to be correct. Change in position. And here is going to be said to be specifically change in velocity. So these 4 points are extremely important to handle the graphical questions, and they all are related to the basic definitions. So this in this slide, whatever you are looking, this entire this covers entire kinematics. Now what the next purpose is, simply using these equations and solving those equations to find the unknown quantity out of the given quantities. So we will be proceeding as we have decided. We will start with the first dimension motion or one-dimensional motion or a straight line motion. So here is a rectilinear motion. We also call it as a rectilinear motion or a straight line motion or one-dimensional motion. All mean the same thing. That means particle is moving in particular direction, in one direction. So since that is a one direction, so particle can be moving maybe like this. Let's say this is your particle, it might be moving like this. The particle might be moving like this. Particle might be moving like this. So whatever way it is moving, but one thing is sure, that is moving in a straight line, isn't it? So to make that simple, we can consider any line to be your x line. So you can say this is x-axis, you can say this is your x-axis, you can choose any axis as an x-axis, right? So combining these two property together, we can say this one dimension is basically x dimensional motion. So in whatever the direction it is moving, we will consider that direction to be x direction. By considering this, it becomes easy for us to consider or to solve the questions or making the equations. Why? Because there's a one dimension, and that dimension can always be considered as x. Moreover, particle will be starting from somewhere. From where it is starting, we can choose that point as the origin. So these are the two freedom for us to choose from. So one, we will choosing that the particle is initially at origin. So that's our choice. Why? Because if we choose origin as our initial position, then the writing the displacement is going to be quite easy, right? Because we know the displacement is basically final position minus initial position. If we consider this initial as the origin, life becomes easy because this is simply one variable or one number that we need to deal with. So that's what we are using over here. And again, we will start that this is a time t equal to 0. So particle is located here and it is at time t equal to 0. That means from here the time starts and it's moving. So whatever the direction it has initial velocity, we can consider it to be x direction. So we will say this is the initial velocity. So initial velocity is in the direction of x or plus x, we can say. So this is the location of the particle at t equal to 0 instant of time. As time passes, particle will not remain at origin because it's in motion. So it will leave the position or this origin O. It will be somewhere else. So let's say it reaches here. Or it might be moving in the negative direction, so it will be reaching there. So it can reach anywhere. So I'm considering it to be there. And if it is here, so it will be moving with some velocity. Let's say the velocity is v. So that will call velocity at later time. This is the time when it's written as a t. So that means any time t. So that's a variable time we are considering, right? And during this particular instant of time interval or particular time interval, it must have covered a displacement or distance. So here we are using the displacement because it might be the case that particle has gone like this and then come back to this place. So we never know what the actual path is. But yes, we certainly know that this is the final position. So when I write over here x, that means this x is not a distance. It's definitely displacement. So we will be changing our notations, and since this motion, entire motion of all the variables or all the definitions that we are using, they are along the I direction, I cap or minus I cap, isn't it? So instead of writing vector terms, we can usually we can write their letters without vector symbol, because if we write velocity, so we need to write velocity as I cap. And we know this I cap is going to come with all of them because motion is one dimension alone. So now we will be writing displacement. So symbols will be like this. Displacement will be given by a symbol x, We can also use s. So here I'm using x. X is a displacement now. When we say velocity, instantaneous velocity, velocity not a speed, you see, and it's instantaneous. So instantaneous velocity is written by v. What is the difference? Because velocity will have its direction as well. So if we write a plus v, that means it is in the plus v direction, plus x direction. If we write minus v, that means it is in negative x direction. So that means this is the v if we write as a minus v. Okay, so this minus will carry the direction. Similarly, displacement will carry the direction. So velocity is v. V is not a speed, v is a velocity. And then acceleration we will be writing simply by a. So these are the notations we are going to follow. And they will carry their directions. So if they are negative, so they are in the minus x direction. If they are positive, then they are in the plus x direction. Making sense? So these are going to be this. And the t is another element or definition that we have talked about. So again, we have got 4 definitions. And if we know all 4 about a particle, that means we know entire motion of the particle. All 4 means we need to know the displacement at any instant of time, that means all the times, velocity all the times, acceleration all the times. So that means we have all the information related to that motion. Understood? Now we can relate them very easily. So what the equations of motions are going to be in this particular case? So we can say equations of motion for one dimension. Equations of motion. So we will start from the basic definition and we will be simplifying those equations of motion to most usable form. And let me write directly, because you people have considered this in detail in 9th syllabus or 10th class or whatever. So you will get 4 equations. So I'm writing down the 4 equations, then we will be dealing with the proof. So first let me write the differential equation. So differential equation is going to be v is equal to dx upon dt. So that's one equation. And then on the acceleration term, we are going to get this a is equal to dv upon dt. So that's the one equation for acceleration. We can also write this acceleration as if we write v as a dx by dt, so it will become d2x upon dt2, because it's going to be double derivative. That means this is x is related with a and t. And this acceleration can also be written as dv upon dt. So we can write dv upon dx into dx upon dt, applying the chain rule, if you remember chain rule. So this dx by dt will become the velocity. So we can say acceleration can also be written as v dv upon dx. So in one dimensional motion, these equations are quite important. So let me insert place them in a bracket or this box. So v is equal to dx by dt is one equation. V is equal to dv by dt is another equation. And this a is equal to dv by dt is another equation. And this a is equal to d2x upon dt2 is another equation. And this is another equation. A is equal to v dv by dx. All these equations are going to describe the motion of the particle in one dimension, and you will find there are basically 2 equations. This is the one equation, and this and this, they are the same equation, but they are being used. They are using the first equation and writing the acceleration. This might be new for you, and that's very important to handle some of the questions. When we are going to use which equation to be used, it will all depend on the question. So you just need to think what the variables it includes. If there is involvement of x, t and v, then go for this. If there is involvement of v, t and a, go for this. If there is a x, t, a, go for this. If there is a v, x and a, go for this. So this is basically combinations based on the question that is given to us. Okay. And if we simplify these equations, then you'll find we will get those 4 equations or 3 equations that you remember. V is equal to u plus at, x is equal to ut plus half at square, and v square is equal to u square plus twice ax, and displacement during ns second. So we will be moving ahead and trying to derive them simultaneously. That will be good. So let's go ahead. Now these equations of motion that we are going to derive, they are being used for. So let me write disclaimer over here, or some condition over here, where when we need to use these equations of motion has to be one dimension, so therefore 1D motion, of course, right? And a, which is acceleration, has to be constant. So if acceleration is constant, then we are going to get these equations which we are going to use or derive right now. Prior to this, whatever the equations we have written, they were for one dimensional, even though acceleration was variable, right? So now onwards, we are considering acceleration is a constant, and let's say this is the scenario and acceleration is given like this. That means initially we consider it to be plus, so that's a, and it's going to be constant. So this constant acceleration is equally important condition. Now we say, since as per the equations that we have just jot down, or definition, basic definition, we can say this acceleration is defined as dv by dt. So you will say, okay, this can be rewritten as a dv is equal to a dt. Now we can go for integration both sides. So if we integrate both sides, so it will become dv integration, and it's going to be integration of a dt. Then you need to place the limits. You say this initial velocity has to be run from the initial velocity to the final velocity, which is v. This has to be running from initial time, which is 0, to any time t. So that becomes the integration equation. And you know the integration, and the left hand side is going to be v, and limit has to be placed from u to v as per the rules. And right hand side you will find this a is a constant. Whenever anything is a constant, it can be taken outside. Now you minded this a is taken outside simply because our assumption that we are talking about the case a constant. So it will go from 0 to t. Further simplification will lead to the left hand side will become v minus u after placing the limits. You know that this is a, integration of dt is going to be t, again 0 to t is going to be the limit. If you place this further, so you are going to get it as a upper limit minus lower limit, that will become 0. So ultimately we are going to get this v minus u is equal to at, which we can rewrite in this fashion, which we remember, v is equal to u plus at. And that's called first equation of motion in case of straight line, one dimensional, constant acceleration motion. So that's a familiar equation that you know. And one thing that you need to keep in mind, you should never forget that for this, acceleration must be constant. Many of the students makes this mistake later on, and that they use this equation even though a is given as a variable. So first you need to identify how the a is. Until and unless you know a is a constant, you cannot apply this. So its eligibility criteria is acceleration to be constant, and it has to be one dimensional motion. Okay, so that's the first equation. Now we can go for the second and next equations. So using the first equation of motion, we have understood what the velocity is going to be if initial velocity is known to us, t is known to us. So we got to know what the velocity is. And let's consider the same situation. Acceleration is a, which is a constant. So a is given as a constant. And we are trying to make the equation for displacement. That means now we will be trying to find what the x is going to be. So to find x, we need to use this v is equal to dx by dt. And then we need to think, do we know v? Then you will realize, yes, we have calculated this v as u plus at. So there are going to be these two equations we need to merge together so that it comes in terms of x. And then we will be using the mathematics or basic mathematics to find out the value of x. So this can be written as dx upon dt is equal to u plus at. Now if you look at the right hand side, in the right hand side u is a constant and a is a constant, t is a variable. So basically this is a function of time, and this is a dt. So you can take that dt that side. So it will become differential equation like this: dx is equal to u plus at and dt. And then the next natural step is going to be integrating both the side. So you go for integration both the sides, so it becomes integration dx is equal to integration u plus ad and dt. Then we need to think about the limits. Here we need to think about the limits. Here we need to think about the limits. Here the limit has to be of x. So initially x starts from 0. So we will say it starts from 0 and it goes to position x. So it goes to final position is x. Similarly, think about the time. Time starts from 0, it goes to t time. So this is any time t, this is any position x. So we will get the relation of position over the time. And then performing this integration, which we have recently understood, is going to be critical. So this is going to be x integration, and place the limit from 0 to x. Here you know the rules. This can be opened up, so it's going to be u dt from 0 to t, and this is going to be integration a dt 0 to t. You can write directly if you have got all the points, and here you can take this u outside and then integrate. Then integration will come out as a t. I'm writing a bit directly, and here you can take this. Sorry, there was a t term as well because it was at. So you can take this a outside. So if you take this a outside, so it will be integration of t dt, and limits are running from 0 to t. You know that. Simplifying this will result, left hand side will be x minus 0, right hand side first term will come as a u, t minus 0, and then this is a. Integration of t is a t square by 2, and limits has to be running from 0 to t. Once you place 0, it becomes 0, so it will be only t. That means finally you will get some sort of this. X is equal to ut plus half at square. So that becomes the expression or formula or equation, whatever you say, to find out the position once you know what the initial velocity, acceleration and time is. So that's called second equation of motion in one dimension, and which you have used this equation earlier as well. But mind it, here x is a displacement, u is initial velocity, a is a constant acceleration, and particle is moving in one dimension. Fine. Now we can go for the further equations. So here we will deal with the third equation of motion. Till now we have considered two equations of motion. V is equal to u plus at, and x is equal to ut plus half at square. In place of x you can also write s. Choice is yours, but meaning remains the same. So these two equations are going to tell us about the velocity, about the position, and they are valid when there is an acceleration which is a constant. Now you will find these two equations are sufficient to give all the answers. So these two equations are sufficient in themselves, but sometimes we require a third equation in which time is not there. So what we can do, we can calculate the time from first and replace in the second, so you can get another expression. Similarly, you can also take a from the first and place in the second, you can get another equation. So they are basically derived equations, and these two are the basic equations. So they are the different equations, and the rest is going to be derivative out of them. Since third is popular, so we can derive that. So if we consider this first and try to find the t value, you will find the t value is going to be v minus u divided by a. Now let's substitute this t on the another one. So we will get x is equal to this u into t, which is going to be v minus u divided by a, plus half a into t square. So we need to square of this v minus u divided by a whole square of this thing. And then we can write another step and rearrange them. So it's going to be uv minus u square divided by a, plus you'll find there is going to be a square, upside is a, so it will become 1 upon twice a. Inside bracket is going to be u square or v square plus u square minus twice uv. If we settle down it with this way, like we take this twice a as a common denominator, so we need to multiply this by twice. So it's going to be twice uv minus twice u square plus v square plus u square and minus twice uv. Then you can simplify this and rearrange again. So x is going to be equal to, you'll find this and this getting cancelled out, so uv term is no more. Moreover, 1 u square is getting cancelled out, so ultimately it becomes v square minus u square divided by twice a. If you want, you can rearrange it. So you will be rearranging like this: v square minus u square is equal to twice ax, which popularly we write in this fashion: v square is equal to u square plus twice ax. So that's called equation number third of motion, or third equation of motion. Now you see, this third equation motion is not a special or different. It's a basically combination of first two. So even though you don't remember this third equation, it will be okay. So the main two equations that are doing job is this first two equations. Okay. And this will be used when there is no involvement of time. It's a displacement and velocity initial and acceleration is involved, so we can find the final velocity. The fourth equation of motion in one-dimensional for constant acceleration case is calculated as follows. So it basically talks about displacement of particle during nth second. So this talks about a displacement of particle during nth second. We will be writing it as a xn. So when we write xn, it means it's a displacement during nth second. What is meaning of nth second? It's a second which starts from t equal to n minus 1 and lasts up to t equal to n. So from n minus 1 to n second, this time duration is of 1 second, and that 1 second is known as nth second. Okay, how you can understand? You can understand in this manner. Let's say we are plotting this time on this line axis. So this is a 0 time, this is the first 1 second, this is a 2 second, this is a 3 second, this is a 4 second, and so on. So you'll find this time duration is going to be first second. That's the first second. This is going to be time duration which is going to be known as a second. This will be known as a third second. This is going to be known as a fourth second. Now you see, the fourth second start from 3 and last at 4. So if we need to plot nth second, can you think of nth second will start from n minus 1 and last up to n? So that's called nth second. So when we place the th upside, that means it is talking about basically 1 second. All the time duration you can see they are 1 second, but that is located at a different locations or different time duration. So this 1 second is a different than this 1 second, and this is different than this 1 second. So we are talking about the nth second. So if we write x4, that means we are talking about the fourth second. Making sense? So that's what we need to find in this particular equation that will be known as the equation number 4. Now how we can find this? So we can say if we measure this distance from here to here, or let's name them, this point is A, this point is location is B. So if we measure this OA and if we measure this OB, then the difference between the two is known as this one. This is xn. So xn is the displacement during nth second, that means from A to B. So we can say this xn can be written as this OB, distance in n second, or displacement in n second, minus displacement in n minus 1 second, OA. And we know the formula of displacement in n second, so that's going to be u initial velocity into time, which is n plus half a into t square, that is n square. So which formula we are using? We are using the second equation of motion to find the displacement in n second. Similarly, we can write the displacement in n minus 1 second. So you are going to write as a u. Now the time will be n minus 1. So ut plus half a t square, where the t is n minus 1. So do the square. So this will become the formula for xn. Now we can simplify or arrange them. So let's take the u common out of these two terms. If we take u common, so we are going to get is n minus 1. And from the rest of the two terms, these two terms, let's take a half a common. So if we take half a outside, we are going to get it as n square minus n minus 1 whole square. We can simplify this. So when we simplify this, you are going to get it as a u, because n minus 1, there is really only 1 left, plus half a. In this you can apply the formula of a square minus b square. When we are going to add them up, so it's going to be n plus n minus 1. And once we need to subtract them, this is going to be n minus n plus 1. So that minus sign will be changing the sign. You can check the calculations. So it's going to be u plus half a. This is going to be 2n minus 1. And this is going to be simply 1. So from here we got the fourth equation of motion, which is xn is equal to, that's the u plus a by 2 in bracket 2n minus 1. So this will be calling the equation which is equation number 4. And what it is going to tell us that we need to be very specific. It's a displacement during nth second. It will require initial velocity a by 2 into 2 times n, the nth second that we are using minus 1. It will come into in terms of meters, right? So that's all for this video. And in this video we have covered the one-dimensional motion theoretical aspect and general equations of motions theoretically. In the upcoming video we will be having some numerical questions as well. So watch them. Thank you for watching. Have a good time.